All right. What's enough socializing? No, just kidding. You don't need to rush out today. You can hang out. Make sure to connect with some more people because again, we just live in a time and age where we need relational connection more than ever. This is what one of the things that the church should excel at. And so, use the space out there. You can linger. You don't have to rush off. Make some connections this morning before you leave. But as I said, by the way, be kind to our friends that are coming in who missed the memo or forgot. And so you see people trickling in over the next 7 to 10 minutes. Don't give them this. Right? Like, just smile and nod, okay? But if you don't want to miss important updates like this, make sure to use that connection card, fill that out, make sure you say, hey, I want to be updated about stuff like one service at 10 in the future. So you can use the connection card to do that, drop that in the offering boxes, and we'll get you all set. But this is one of these kind of like this hinge on the calendar, right? We're clear of Christmas, we're clear of Christmas Eve, which is a big Sunday for every church. We're not quite into the new year yet. And so last year we tried something and it went so well, we said, let's do it again. We want to close by the year by looking back, by remembering the things that God has done, again, in and through our lives. And so I'd encourage you to be thinking of those stories, those testimonies of God's goodness in this past year, because this is what God's word says. Psalm 143, verse 5. I remember the days of long ago. I meditate on all your works and consider what your hands have done. And so there's a power in remembering. I looked up, at least in the NIV, that there are over 200. There's about 230 uses of the word remember. And so there's this theme throughout Scripture that God calls us to remember again and again and again what he's done. There's this connection between remembering God's goodness and being able to trust him in the midst of whatever challenge that we're facing in our present. And so we want to, again, encourage one another with the stories of God's goodness, his faithfulness to us in this past year and look back. And so again, I'm going to invite actually a couple friends on up. I'm going to invite Ben and Rebecca on up, and they're going to start us off with just some testimonies of how God has shown up and worked in their lives. But then when they're done, you can come up here if you're brave enough. But if not, you can just raise your hand and I will bring the microphone to you and I will move around because that's how much I love all of you. But we're going to start with you guys. You can come this way. There we go. Thank you guys so much for being willing to share just what we've been talking about. So you get to start us off today, and whichever one of you wants to go first. So how's God worked in your guys' life?
I guess I'll go first because Alan. Thank you. Okay, the irony of all this is that I got to do this last year, and it was a very similar topic, which is kind of sad and kind of exciting all at the same time. So I unfortunately lost my job again this year, and we were put in a really awkward position that I worked for a Canadian company, and we weren't able to collect unemployment for the time that I was unemployed. And I was one of the few who was extremely blessed that I was only out of a job for about 8 weeks, which from people that also lost their jobs at my place, this is unheard of. So we didn't get the unemployment. We didn't know how we were going to do it. I was in the church office every week because I was already here helping with kids ministry, and we learned that our 2 fish and our 5 loaves exponentially covered our bills. Don't know why. It didn't work on paper, no matter how many times I wrote out our budget. I was, I think, in Erica's office a mess a few times because there was no way it was going to work on paper. And we have come out the other side. I am working full time, and somehow we didn't miss a bill. And it had to have been because of the goodness of God that it happened. So we've been very blessed, and thankfully I will not be up here next year because my job rocks. So
yes, we're going to pray that you are not sharing that testimony again next year. Yeah, Ben.
Good morning, everybody. Most of you guys know my wife, and you know my kids, and we are blessed to be here because my kids this year really wanted to serve, and I'm truly blessed to have the leaders out there who looked at them saying, yes, we're going to work with you. They didn't look at their age and say, no, you're too young, which I've been in church before, and it kind of dampers them to serve. They said, we want to serve. Even my youngest serves in a class with some amazing leaders here, and he's getting blessed, and he's getting that into a system that serving is what we need to do as a church. And so thank you for all the people who work with my kids and my wife. I do appreciate that as you guys build in their lives. I work night shift, so serving was difficult for me because I need sleep.
That's fair.
But I also met my wife while serving. So in this phase of my life where I've been working night shift for the better half of 10 years, somewhere around there, I haven't been able to serve the way I wanted to serve, and it gets frustrating as me. Like I've had great conversations from Tacoma to Eatonville at night, going, God, why am I here? What am I doing? Why won't you let me do what I've done before? And I've tried to volunteer places, and they're like, God's like, nah, not yet. But God showed me this year why He has put me in this situation. I'm a warehouse supervisor at night, and I stand in front of people who work at night just like I do, and I'm like, hey, we're going to put our best foot forward. Let's go do this. And if you have any questions, my office is open. Come on in. I'm in my office, and a guy walked in. His name is Alan. He sat in my chair, and he goes, Ben, I have a hard time forgiving people. That's not usually a question that comes up at work. So luckily, we have an amazing team here who talks about those topics. Jeff actually shared a few weeks prior to that about forgiveness. So I wasn't as good as you, Jeff. I kind of stumbled through it. And,
sure, you did awesome.
I stumbled through it, and he actually walked around like, that makes sense. That's great. Walked out of the office. Wasn't a moment where he gave his life to Jesus, but a seed was planted, right? A little while later, he walked to me and says, hey, Ben, my son came up and said, we need to start reading the Bible. Do you know where I can get one? I said, absolutely. So I stole one from the back. Don't tell anybody. And
everybody can, they're free. I mean, don't take like 8, but.
And right there in the Miracle parking lot, we actually went through the Bible on what chapters would be good to start. Obviously, there's some chapters that people read and like, I don't even know why I read that. I know everybody's gone through that. But we talked about some chapters. He has a little bit of a background with his grandmother being in the church, so we kind of walk through where to start with him and his son. He's actually giving me updates of how him and his son are slowly reading the Bible and getting ready. And just a little while ago, just kind of going to that chair we pray for, he actually came up to me and says, Ben, what times are your services?
Wow.
And I gave him the time, and he works nights too, and so he said, well, what time are your services? When are you going to be there? I said, I'll give you the times. You let me know you're going to show up, and I'll be there, no matter what services is. So it just goes to show you, even in my frustration and what I felt like God was still working, he got to show me the one person that I needed to reach.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys so much for kicking us off. Yep. All right, so again, this is your chance to share those stories that, God's bringing to mind to encourage somebody else. So again, if you're brave enough, you could just come on up. Oh, look at this guy. He's like, no, you don't need to bring it to me. Come on up, Austin. I think I know a little bit about what you're going to share. So everyone, you're about to get blessed. So anyways.
Well, first, it's really good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Welcome back, man.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Austin. I've been going to Rainier for a little over 10 years. I don't know exactly how long. And I lived in Washington for all my life, all 28 years of it so far. My heart's beating really fast right now.
You can move a little bit around. Right? That's fine.
So either way, about 4 months ago, I made a prayer that I didn't really think I fully grasped at the time, and that was Isaiah 6:8. God said, whom will I send? Who's going to go for me? And Isaiah replied, send me, Lord. I made that same prayer, and I didn't really fully understand what I had got myself into. That was about 4 months ago. And about 3 months ago, I finished my manager training at my work, and I completed it successfully, and I started looking around online for jobs, and my wife and I had always discussed moving out of state, and I eventually said, if we're going to discuss it for 10 years, then I should just get it done before I have to wait another 10 years, and we haven't done anything about it, and we're still doing the same thing as always. And I walked into my living room one day, and I said, I applied for a job in Ohio. And she just kind of said, okay, That's my wife's response. And next thing I knew, I said, Lord, if it's supposed to work out, let me get an interview. I got an email about a week later, and I got an interview. It was great. And so we got online, and we did our interview there, and I thought it went okay, and I prayed to the Lord. I said, Lord, if it's supposed to work out, let the interview work out. Let it go well. And the interview didn't go well. It went phenomenally. So then I started talking with the managers over there, started talking with my work in general, and I said, Lord, if it's supposed to work out, let the offer be decent. And the offer wasn't decent. It was more than generous. Next thing I knew, I took the job, and I had my work. They paid for everything. They flew us out there, helped us find a house. They helped us with getting a realtor. They helped us get everything moved out there. I mean, this was like tens of thousands of dollars just to get us out there and get me into that position and get me into that function and get me into that role. And that all started with a prayer about 4 months ago. And so now I live in Ohio. I live in Ohio. Yeah. I got separated from my parents. Very hard. Separated my daughter from her grandparents. Got separated from a group of guys that I was in a discipleship group with for about 15 years. So it was hard, and I don't fully understand why I'm out there yet. I'll figure it out. So, because the Lord sent me, and I'll follow.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that it all started with just honestly praying that prayer, right? And then God opens these doors, and right, it's this balance of, man, God's blessing, but also the trust to step into the unknown. And so you guys probably mostly aren't going to get a chance to hear more of that, but man, Austin's just such a godly young guy, and we're so grateful how God's leading him in his life towards what he has in store for him. So, yeah, anybody else? Yeah, you gonna come on up? Oh, look, we got a line. You can form the line up here if you want. We're not shy around here, apparently. So, hello, Ruth.
Hi, I'm Ruth. I'm a retired teacher. I'm also a widow, and I joined our Grief Share group. If you haven't joined it, please do. In the process, I met my friend Christine, and I was looking for a path. I said, God, I need a path. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to do right now with myself. In that process, she became engaged, and I stepped in because her mother wasn't around anymore, and I helped her with her wedding, which was such a wonderful blessing. Mm-hmm. I got to meet Austin. I got to meet her dad. And the wedding, I kept praying, God, please let this be a good wedding. I think it was. Thank you, honey. And in the process, one of our friends who was also in Grief Share, her dad and Jennifer became a couple, and they are wonderful together. And I got to watch that happen. Mm-hmm. But in Grief Share, I worked as a leader. I was a teacher of kids, and I didn't fit there as well anymore. I was good in the group as support, but not as a leader. And I prayed to God, I think I want to learn how to work with kids in grief. And Jeff kind of knows the story. I prayed to God. I said, God, how can I help children in grief? There is a lady who wrote a curriculum. Her name is Mel Erickson. I had kind of reached out through her book. The next day, she calls me, the expert. She works at Lighthouse, invited me to be kind of a student teacher with her this last year. Mm-hmm. Tell me about God answering a prayer. Mm-hmm. Put me on a path, God. Mm-hmm. If all goes well, I will be presenting it to this church and asking to bring it here for our children to be led in how to handle and process their grief as their families are also going through grief. Mm-hmm. God has blessed me with so much, and I feel so blessed that God gave me this opportunity. If it doesn't work this time, it'll work another time, but he has brought me to this place, and it's been so wonderful that you just say, God, can you give me a helping hand? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruth. And really, can you imagine anybody better to lead a ministry like that? So I saw lots of people popping up like whack-a-mole, so keep on coming. Yeah, we'll go Justin, then Jeanette, and we got another in the back. Hey, man, here you go.
I'm doing good. My name's Justin. I'm really nervous to be up here. I'm a huge introvert. My older brother is Austin, who came up here just a minute ago. And throughout this year, or at the very beginning of this year, I was struggling to believe. I was struggling to see it because I think believing in a faith is very hard. A lot of people want to prove it. A lot of people want to just prove it in general, say it exists. I'm kind of lost with what I'm saying here, sorry.
No, keep going, man.
But
You're doing good.
I think one thing I learned, and I'm one of those people who likes to prove as much as I can, I've learned that this is not something that you can prove. This is something that you have to have faith in. You got to believe in God. And one of my closest friends, his name is Matthew, he does not believe in faith as some of us do. And just earlier this week, he came to me and said, Justin, what makes you believe in faith? Now, I think that's a hard question for me because there's many things. I've talked to people. I've talked to Jeff. I've talked to my parents. I've talked to my brothers. I've talked to a lot of people about one big question that I have. What brought you to faith? I think that question has helped me so much, seeing other people's stories of how it brings them to faith. No matter how little or how much it is, it's always meaningful. It always has something to do with community. It's heartwarming, and it's just amazing to me. This community here in this church is lovely. I mean, even though I don't talk to very many people, everybody I have talked to is so nice and so kind to me, and I really love to see that. Sam?
Yeah. Awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. Go. When you're that tall, you can do that. Jeanette, I don't have a parachute.
Those of you who know me know how brave and foolish it is for Jeff to hand me a microphone. But I'll keep this.
I also will take it back if you just go too long. So
I'll keep it short. A while ago, a year and a half or so, I was wondering what to do next on the path. Where's God supposed to have me serve? Because I was kind of like, I don't know. I was confused, and I went through a lonely period. I went through all kinds of stuff. And then Erica said, you might be good with the teenagers. And I went, I got 60-odd years over these guys of experience. And I thought I could really help them. Well, what has turned out is that I got involved with the youth ministry. And every Wednesday night, my partner Sandy and I get to hang out with a bunch of teenage girls. And I have learned so much from them. It's a joy because when you're out in the world, you start thinking, oh, what's this world coming to? Blah, blah, everything's bad. These girls have a power that gives me faith that the next generation is going to be fine. Everything's going to be good. When you see the faith of these girls and boys and the way that they embrace Jesus and shine his light out, and every day I pray about Bethel High School because I'm thinking, oh, yay, we're going to have more people come and hear the joy that can be found in knowing Jesus. And I'm so blessed and so grateful. Kids are amazing. They're just flat out amazing. And you know, it's hard being a teenager in today's world. A lot more challenges than I ever had 60-odd years ago. And they're shining through whatever happens. And they're doing that because we have great leaders and volunteers. Erica, God bless her. And you, big guy. So I'm so grateful. That's all I want to say. And if you think that you might have a place, get out there, get involved. Talk to Erica, talk to Jeff, find out, can I hang out with these kids? What's going to happen? What's going to happen is this. You're going to have all kinds of this. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. All right, Miriam, then Jeff, then if somebody's really got to share, you got to sit next to Jeff. So, okay. Oh, yep, hold on. Yep. We don't have a side railing here, and our insurance is not that good, so we're going to take the extra precautions. And I do have some church grandmas, and Miriam is one of them, so.
That's nice to know. That's nice to know. I find it interesting that two or three, Jeanette and Ruth both, used a statement that I've used many times. I'm looking for my purpose. And I have a feeling that there's a lot of us that our kids are out of the house, our grandkids are growing up way too fast. Many of us are widows and widowers, or you're divorced, we're alone. We're looking for a purpose. And keep asking God, because He will reveal that purpose. It may not be what you want, it may not be as much as you want, or it may be more than what you want to do. But He does have a purpose for all of us. But what I want to share goes back to the finances. People in my age group we have to take out required minimum distributions from our IRAs. And I have 3 small IRAs at BECU, and so I remembered to go to the bank to withdraw that so I don't get in trouble. And so I had them just it was a little bit of finances that I really didn't need to live on. So I thought, well, I'll just have them write a check to the church, and I'll just do that for this end of this drive that we've been doing for the next gen. And so I did, and I turned it in on Sunday before Giving Tuesday so that it counted in the challenge for Tuesday. And on Friday, I had a call from my financial advisor who, as they distribute, I have my distribution done quarterly and they withhold the taxes. So his phone call was to tell me that they had miscalculated how much I had to take out. And so there would be a certain amount added to my checking account, and that would he was explaining what that was going to be. What they put into my bank account, and I've never, ever had this happen before, although I've heard stories of it, but what was added from their miscalculation was more than double the check that I had given to the church. So God does take care of us financially. If giving is, and I'm not getting paid for this announcement now. So.
Well, speaking of that,
there's nothing
sorry,
in
there's
there.
nothing there. There's a penny, literally. That's it. Speaking of giving, no.
Speaking of giving, just real fast. I grew up. I remember taking a dime or a nickel or a quarter to church and putting it in the offering in Sunday school. It was just something we always did. And so I've always tithed. I didn't know there was an option not to. And my husband and I it was just a top priority to give. So it's just part of my walk with the Lord. So it wasn't a struggle to say, well, I don't really need this amount of money. I have to take it out, and I've been well provided for, and yet God turned around and gave me back more than what I had given to Him, and that's His principle. Mm-hmm. We give to Him. We don't worry about it. We trust Him. We're responsible for with what we do have. And He does take care of us. So I hope that encourages somebody to, or maybe many of you, to just step forward and do what God nudges you to do, and He's gonna take care of you.
Yeah, amen. All right.
I'll go down with my hand there.
You go down that way? Okay, take your time. Jeff. All right. There you go, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. I just wanted to say before I start this, I do have a point. It might sound a little negative or long-winded, but the story does have a really good payoff. So doing it bad. About a month ago, my dad had heart surgery, and he came through it all right. It was just a scary health scare, and he just told me and my wife that he just wanted to see me and my kids for Christmas, so we went down to California to go see him this week, and we just got back late Friday night. And so it being Christmas Eve, Christmas Day while we were gone, I dragged the family to church on Christmas Eve because I just love going to church on Christmas Eve. And so my mom and dad picked a really big church by their house. They live in the Anaheim area in California by Disneyland. And so we go to this church, was it Wednesday afternoon, Christmas Eve, walk in, it's just huge. We walk into and see the Welcome Center. It's just massive, all kinds of free stuff. It's like something you'd see at Disneyland. Just, they're just giving out little squish balls.
I've never seen anything free at Disneyland, but anyways, continue.
That's the one, yeah. And then so we go in, and then I see their coffee bar. This thing is literally like a Starbucks. I'm like, this church is just insane. And then so we go find our seats, and this was like a sports arena, the main assembly congregation area, kind of like the Showware Center in Kent. Mm-hmm. It was just insane. And then the band comes on stage for the Christmas Eve service, and they got an orchestra, 2 electric guitar players, a bass. It's just killing it, and these singers that come out, and I'm just, this is nuts. I've never seen this before. But then after all the hype and the flashiness, then their staff came on. Their youth pastor came up, their other pastors, their lead pastor. I'm expecting to see something really good because Jeff just always gives amazing services on Christmas Eve. So a high bar. And these people started talking, and nothing against them. They were all good people. But their youth pastor wasn't Erica. The leader of their church wasn't Rusty. Their pastor giving the message wasn't Jeff. So to just see all that hype, but then the people, and like I said, they're nice people, but, we have very talented people who God is working through, just doing amazing things. And it was just really cool to see, and it just made me realize how blessed I was to be a part of this church, to be around people like Rusty and Joe and Erica and Rebecca and Cassandra. I mean, just some truly amazing people. I'm sad I missed the Christmas Eve service. Was it good this year? Okay. Can I listen on the website?
You can, and you'll know why this is here.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, and I just want to say, if you're new, if this is your first time here, just make the commitment to coming every Sunday. Unless you have a heart out, like you're going to be out of town, or you made plans that you can't get out of, just make that commitment to come every Sunday. Pick a group, and it might be hard, making that commitment, showing up, skipping watching football, but God will start working through you and making some big changes in your lives. Just make that commitment to show up, because there's some really special people here, and they'll make a big difference in your life. So thank you all.
Thank you, Jeff. Yep. All right. Well, we are maybe going to have to do this more than once a year. But secondly, we are going to kind of transition here, wrap things up for the morning, and kind of be able to move on. But we've got one more testimony we're going to watch that was recorded actually back in October. We had a Share Your Story night where we walked through just how to identify the stories that God has given you. Many of you just did that right here, but we kind of walked through that together. And so we're going to watch one more story of how God was at work in one person's life here, Debbie Williamson. And I think it's just going to be a perfect way to kind of just put a punctuation mark on this. But before we play that, I think just what Jeff shared just really highlights there's no perfect, all right? There's no Goldilocks church that just has everything figured out. But the secret of being, in the right spot is to just be committed to it, to just embrace the ups and downs, the shortcomings, the flaws, and everything in between. It's not about finding the perfect place. It's about committing to somewhere. It's about the connection. And as you just heard, none of these people were paid for their testimonials, okay? Let me just say that clearly, okay? But that makes all the difference. And man, when God is working in each and every one of our lives, and we just multiply that work out, man, he does amazing things. So we're going to close playing one more story of how God's at work in somebody's life right here at Rainier View, and then we'll close with communion and some more worship.
We've done a lot of studies in our lives. I've been a Christian for over 50 years, but One of the key studies we ever did was experiencing God as a church body. And one of the key things in that study that was remembered, I've remembered all along, is looking to see where God's working and joining him there, instead of getting your own thing together and then hoping God will bless it. So anyway, so one of the things that my husband, Sandy, likes to sign up for things. And through a series of circumstances, he was working with youth at the church at the Parkland campus and on midweek, and it wasn't going super well, but he got able to start going to the high school across the street from our church on Tuesday afternoons to their Bible study club. And it was sort of a series of events that got him there. And being across the street from a high school gives our church an amazing opportunity to reach a lot of youth. And then he started going on Tuesday afternoons. It's from 2 to 2:45. And he said, don't you want to come? You want to come with me, right? And I was like, yeah, no, not really. No, I got enough things going on in my head or my heart. Not really. And but it was so apparent that God gave us an opening to the school, and that was 2.5 years ago. And so then that fall, he was going regularly on Tuesday afternoons, and it was like, okay, fine, I'll be supportive wife, I'll go with you, kind of thing. Well, what's amazing is to watch God at work at something, and God was definitely at work. The Holy Spirit was definitely at work through this Bible study group. And so I was still resistant. I would be going with him, but I felt like I had my heels dug in on the whole thing. And through that first year, there were students, 2 of the students went with us on our Mexico mission trip. So they didn't come to our church, but they went to Mexico with us. And then one of those students, Sarah, started coming to church regularly, got baptized at our church. She's like an adopted granddaughter for us. I've been going now every Tuesday. We take snacks. I might cook cookies. And I'm just like able to see the Holy Spirit at work. Well, usually there's around 20 kids that come to this Bible study club on Tuesdays, which is pretty amazing in itself. But this fall, all of a sudden there's like 30. Over 30 kids showed up on Tuesday afternoon and are there for the whole 45 minutes. And it's just amazing to see how God's been at work during the last 2 years that our church has been able to participate in reaching out to the neighborhood, because these are all kids that live around our church body. And so, yeah, I was resistant, but then it was like, the Spirit is definitely at work there, and I want to join him there. And that's been a real blessing for both of us, Sandy and I.